Hi everyone, my name is Benoit. Welcome to another great Timucua Talk. Today my esteemed guest is Jamiel Law. Hi Jamiel.
Hello, hello. I'm honored to be here.
Well, it's so cool. It's so nice to meet you, which is interesting because we have not met before, so that's really cool. So you are our artist of the month in February, and you are also going to be involved with Artists in Resonance project with your brother Gerald Law.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about all these things. You're going to perform at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center and all that stuff. It's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I was born and raised in Sarasota, Florida. I am an editorial illustrator, and personally, I like to create work that resonates with people, work that is definitely culturally relevant, work that can definitely touch the heart as well as tantalize the eyes. So I believe that's one of my main purposes in life. So that's where I find the greatest joy in seeing other story reflected through my artwork.
Great. So, how, first of all, has the pandemic affected you and your work a lot? Like, how has it changed it? Like, for us musicians, it's made a huge difference. I don't know. In your case, maybe it has made no difference at all.
I think the biggest difference that the pandemic has made has been since I am an illustrator, I get a lot of my inspiration, I get a lot of my subject matter just from observing life around me. So the pandemic has definitely created a unique challenge in which more of the experiences that are being created are from my own lens, from how I view someone else's view of the world, because I cannot go out, because I cannot experience others in the way that I've been accustomed to. So you miss out on little things like the gesture in someone's walk or the way that they sit in a chair. You miss out on those little hints and cues that you would normally get. But I think this unique challenge is all about what the field of illustration is all about. We always create work that reflects the time. We create works that reflects others' points of view. So with this unique challenge, I believe it has created a unique body of work, not only in myself, but in others around me, other contemporaries, for sure.
And in some ways, perhaps it has increased your reach because of the, the just the social situation right now and what people are doing with their time and what they're not doing with their time.
For
It
sure.
has I know that I've, consumed or been exposed to more content, new content that I would not have normally just because I don't have the same. I mean, I spend more time on my computer working,
Yes.
also, but also like, of course, doing other things. So, yeah. So, and have you gotten to work live in front of an audience often before?
Not really. Honestly, I'm used to being, and I know it might be a trope, but I'm used to being kind of a hermit when I work. I'm used to just carefully and meticulously putting different elements together, seeing if they work. Like I said earlier, this is another unique challenge just to see what kind of art can be created in the space, what kind of art can be created with an audience, like what can stimulate the audience as well as get my point of view across. So um, I'm very, very excited to see what comes out of it.
Very good, very good. I'm also very excited and curious, to meet you in person and of course to see you at work because, like, we have been, showing art as part of our concert series for almost 20 years now. But
Wow.
but we started having live artists maybe I want to say 15 years ago, and it has transformed the way. Uh, First of all, my relationship with certain of the artists, like many of the artists, who, like, it just changes completely our view not only of the art but of the artist. Like, it's just an interesting concept when you think about it, that we oftentimes, when it's visual arts, we think of the artist as the art, like the art is the artist, like that's our contact with the artist is the art. And so
Yes.
having contact with the actual artist while they're making their art is a completely new feeling for the audience, which is a big part of the reason why we are doing this. Like we've been doing this for so long and we keep doing it because it's important. Like it like there's a much deeper and like a different bond that gets created to
Yeah,
me, and it's very important, and it's helps the artists forge these deeper bonds with more people than they're used to. Like normally, like some people, like you have maybe like a steady, not stable, but like a steady pool of buyers, for example, like, you know, your collectors. Like, so you have these deep connections with these few individuals, but, you know, it expands that pool of people that you get these deeper bonds with. It's just a very
exactly.
cool thing that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds really beautiful just imagining it eliminating that level of mystique because you see the piece of artwork and then you start to formulate your own opinions. But when the artist is there, you get to see the decision-making process. You get to see sort of peek behind the curtain and see the wizard working everything behind it, which is really awesome. And I feel like it can create even a level of relatability in the decision making process. So you can see maybe decisions you would have made differently, or you can just see the human and the tactile hand element behind the artwork.
Right. I'm very curious also to see if with you, if it actually transforms the actual art making process. Like because, you know, obviously, like you're saying, first of all, there's maybe a time, like, you know, you're used to work on deadlines possibly when you're, you know, your buyer, if your buyer is the New Yorker or something like that, like there's a deadline involved, you know, because
Yes.
uh, but this is a different kind of deadline in a way. Like time takes a different form all of a sudden because you're in front of people and you're working in front of people, and you may also feel the urge to explain something, for example, whereas normally you're explaining this to yourself, and of course you're trying to make your artwork speak for itself, right? And
Oh,
so
yes.
it will be very, very interesting. And of course, like as when it comes to visual arts, I'm an audience member. Like really, I'm not really an artist. I mean, I've dabbled and I have a self-portrait and a few things, but you know,
Oh,
but, but as an amateur, you know, but so I'm very, very curious to see your experience of it, what you take away from that aspect of it, and if it becomes maybe in one you know, like everybody has different drawers and compartments in their life and their professional life,
yes.
and maybe that's going to become like a new like toolbox for you, like a new tool in your toolbox, maybe whatever
Oh,
the
definitely,
metaphor may be,
definitely.
like something that may become part of your kind of like maybe even if it's sporadic, maybe a regular occurrence in your life, in your professional life, that you say, okay, you know, I'm gonna use the audience in this way for myself. Like in other words, you know,
For
maybe
sure.
find an outlet for that maybe once a month or whatever, like that you can create using that maybe new or different energy and constraints and possibilities that are afforded and created by the presence of an audience.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I love the use of constraints. Like one of my favorite art instructors used to say illustration was basically art made with specific constraints. Like what can you get out of it? So just to give you a little sneak peek there, that was one of my initial questions to myself. What tools do I already have that I can use to create this experience? Um, what could I what things would it shift? Like, would it shift the medium? Would it shift the application? Would it shift? So playing around with all these different variables just to incorporate in a way that performing arts, that performative aspect of this showcase. So, like I said, I'm very eager and I'm very excited to show um, just this child that I'm birthing into this new art form for me. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
very, very excited.
And another question I have, and I'm assuming that some of my the audience will have too, is so let's say let's take the audience out of it. How about, you know, creating with music, along with music? Like, so you have a brother who's a drummer and a composer and a musician. So have you done this before? Do you use the music to to help shape the what the art's going to be, or do you? It's just maybe you just listen to music all the time when you're creating art. Like,
Because this is such a new thing for me. Like I remember maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago, my oldest brother Gerald, he approached me about my senior showcase. And I thought he was just saying it in passing. He was saying, you know what, I'm going to use this for an idea that I have about combining music and art. So I heard him and I was like, okay, that's actually a really cool idea. So I sort of banked that in the back of my head. But now when he brought the idea up to me again last year concerning this showcase, it really got me thinking. It really got me really dissecting my process and being aware of my decision making as I'm making the art and how the music can influence the process of it. So I believe definitely what you all are going to see is the music influencing either the mark making, it'll influence either the lighting, the color, the whole experience, so that you get this joint effort towards bringing this project to life, towards bringing this message truly full circle to fruition. Um, just so the music and the art do work in tandem. This is definitely definitely something new, but very, 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 very exciting for me, just to see how I can get out of the normal way that I make art and to create something new, to create something different that can push the envelope and that can just create a more immersive space for the viewer to be fully immersed in the music, to be totally involved in the artwork. And even I would like them at the end of the day to feel as if they were a part of that process by
very
their
cool.
presence. So yeah, definitely.
Very cool. Thank you so much. And another question is, aside from the Artist in Resonance project and your residency here at Timucua, which hopefully, maybe there's other ways also. We'll talk about that after the interview. But because I have ideas, I always have ideas.
Oh, I'm excited.
But I think the question is, uh, what about other future projects? Like, is there anything you would like people to know that you are contemplating, that like new ideas, new projects that you're working on?
Definitely. Of course, I won't get too thick in the weeds here, but of course, I and my brothers are talking about collaborating in the future after this. But I'll let Gerald disclose more of that in the future. But just from my point of view, definitely working large scale, definitely working the gallery spaces, and just playing around with different medium, different subject matter, branching out even more from editorial, and to see what voice do I have outside of that? What voice do I have um, that has been influenced by editorial, but that branches off into its own thing where I can be in a bit of a more experimental space.
And
Um,
and what about like editorial illustration kind of lends itself to like more concrete, like entrepreneurial things, like clothing, and like you can put your art can have even more impact, for example, if you put it on clothes and stuff like that. Like, uh, how do you have any ideas with that, or is that part of your thinking at all? Like,
I think there are definitely ideas in the works. Taking, I would say, maybe not the literal editorial work, but the decision making and the directness that I believe comes from working in the editorial field, just because like you have such tight deadlines, you have to be direct, you have to be intentional to hit the mark. Taking those elements from it and um, finding a field in which I can employ that the most, whether it be clothing, whether it be textiles, whether it be anything like tapestries or wall murals. Just being open and really allowing myself to explore, allowing myself to continue to look into these different fields to see what might interest me the most at this point.
because I can see like, I saw some of your art, and there's like a social impact, and like messages that are important and impactful, and I can see some of that stuff. I said, well, maybe I wish there was a way I could see some of these every day, to remind me of
Definitely.
of that message. Just like you see, like it's similar to like a like a like the bumper sticker idea, meaning like with text, like right. So like the one
Yes.
liner kind of thing, like so it's like yours is like it's like a message that bears revisiting
Yeah.
often, like you know what I mean. And so this is like, I was thinking, like I'm looking at my mouse pad and it's like a generic, there's nothing important on there. I look at that every day, and it's like palm trees, which, like, you know what I mean, it's
Yeah.
means nothing. So
Mhm.
like there are, like, it's funny that, well, it's not funny, but it's like, there are different ways I think that your work can have an impact. And I can just imagine all these kinds of ideas. And I was just talking to Arthur Dawson, who's our
Oh
January
wow.
artist of the month, and he's older, and he's done all kinds of different things. And one of the
Yeah.
things that he's done is put this art on clothes, because he says,
Mhm.
I was trying to make a living for my family, and at the same time it turns out that it's not necessarily only about money. In fact, you could take that money, that the profit, and donate it to a cause that you believe in. But
That is true.
it's just the impact that the art had what was very important. Like it made a big difference in
Yeah.
that period of time that he was doing that. And so that gives, like, that makes sense. That's very logical.
Definitely. It's sort of when you were bringing that up, it reminds me. I know, and this was well after his death, but Basquiat, he was in a collab with Supreme, I believe, the clothing brand. But in a lot of ways, like what you were saying, that was the way in which his art, that people interface with his art, even now, years and years after his death. So just talking about that social impact, I think that's a really great idea that I'm definitely going to start looking more into, like how far do I want my art to go? And in what way, what message, that I can take even further that resonates with even more people. Not necessarily for
Things
the
that are
profit, but
timeless.
for the, yeah, yeah, things that are timeless that truly live on. Hmm. Yeah, definitely something interesting. Definitely, definitely something interesting as far as legacy goes, especially for a 23-year-old young man. This is definitely something I'm going to look more into.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. And
Thank you.
so, everyone in the audience, please keep in touch. First of all, where can people find you?
Well, right now my Instagram is Jamiel Law Art. My website is currently being fixed because someone just recently hacked it. But once that is fixed, it's www.jamiellaw.com.
All right. And perfect. So, thank you so much. And people
Thank you
can,
so much for having me.
oh, absolutely. And people can also find you and your work with the Artist in Residency project and this month's residency at timucua.com. There are different ways on the schedule, and there's a visual arts tab also. And we're also working on revamping our website. So we're always working on these things, but so
Definitely.
there's gonna be more and more opportunities for people to follow you. So thank you very much for talking to me, and stay here now, because we're gonna keep talking.
You got it. You got it.
Thanks so much for watching that Timucua Talk. Please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and why not smash that like button. Keep in touch via our website at timucua.com or on Facebook at Timucua Arts Foundation.